here, we can actually just pull this away if we want. We can either use our fingers, or we can use the probe or the back of the, sometimes the scissors closed works pretty good. Okay, but anyway, we just want to separate this a little bit. So now we're going to cut laterally this way. So that we can, this won't be in our way. Okay. You want to get some good scissors. If you have the scissors that are like the kindergarten paper scissors, you want to trade those in. Use a different pair. So. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go through the musculature, the muscles. These are skeletal muscles that form the walls of some of the body cavities. What body cavity did I just cut into here?
Abdominal.
The abdominal. When I go up here, you're going to find that we get to a structure that has cartilage and bone. This is the first part of the sternum, the most inferior portion. And so what, if you look, before you cut into the thoracic cavity, you'll be able to feel that you can't stick your finger in there, and that's because of the diaphragm, the muscle, the respiratory muscle that allows our lungs to inflate. Okay, so once you see that, I'm going to cut into the thoracic cavity as well. Okay, so we have to actually cut through that breastbone called the sternum all the way up to open up the entire. And we don't want to go too deep. Again, you're always cutting up rather than down because we don't want to be cutting any blood vessels here. Okay, you won't have to worry about the blood vessels with your cat because the blood vessels have been emptied out and filled with latex, actually, a colored rubber. See the blood vessels. But,
and sometimes on these you can still see the heart beating.
Yeah, sometimes you can see the heart beating, and sometimes if you poke the heart, it will be beating. Now I'm just opening this back so that it's not in our way. I know that sounds gross, but maybe it can allow us to see really into the cavity there. Okay, now I'm going to cut the muscles as well. Cut the skin.
Is that fat right there on the side?
Yes, there's fat. Okay, so this is adipose tissue or fat. Okay, it surrounds many of our organs. You saw the picture of the fat in the abdominal cavity with the guy inside of the guy that was drinking the beer. Yeah. Okay, now this is actually, here's the heart, and the heart is surrounded by a membrane that is very, very fine in this, I can't even pinch it, but the pericardial sac, I may have actually already cut through that. Okay. So this is one of those serosal membranes that I was talking about.
Oh.
Okay, so what my finger is inside of the pleural cavity right now, but out here, it's in the pericardial cavity.
You can see the top of it.
Yeah, so this is the pericardium, the pericardial serosa, and then up here would be the mediastinum. Okay.
Do we have a male or a female?
You have a. This is a male. We have all males. So in your dissection guide, they're going to talk about female structures. We don't have any females today. We'll see female anatomy, reproductive structures when we get to the reproductive system at the end of the class. So we'll see that in our rats. Okay, now I'm also going to just keep going up here and cut a little bit through the muscles. We have salivary glands up here. This is called the submandibular. In your book it says submaxillary. It's submandibular salivary gland. Okay, so that's an error in your lab book. Okay, now... Okay, and so here was the diaphragm. You want to get a better look at it. You can look at it in your rat a little better. Okay, it's a thin muscle, skeletal muscle as well. Okay.
You show the membrane?
This is the pleural serosa.
The one for the
lungs, and here's the lung right here. Okay. So this membrane actually comes around and is stuck to the wall of the rib cage here, of the thoracic cavity, and then comes around, and also there's a layer that covers the lung itself. You're going to learn there's two layers of the serosal membrane. You'll learn what the names of those are later on. Okay, I don't want to overwhelm you. Okay, now this big organ is the liver. Biggest organ of the body, okay? You're going to learn that it has certain lobes with certain names later on. You don't have to know that for now. Sometimes the number of lobes in the lung and liver in these other animals aren't corresponding to the human lobes. Okay, and this is the digestive tract. This is the gut that I was referring to. Okay, and so if you want to see how it's connected to the openings, you can actually take a glass probe. We have some glass probes over there, and you can go with the glass probe down into the oral cavity and into the esophagus. The esophagus is the tube that leads to the stomach. Okay, now this one here, we're going to look for the esophagus up here in the mediastinum. This one, this tube, that looks like your vacuum cleaner hose, this is the windpipe. This is the trachea. This is for air. This is our respiratory system, part of our respiratory system. But stuck to the posterior side is the esophagus. So this is the esophagus. The esophagus doesn't have any of those, you know, the tubes or actually they're cartilage rings, yeah. And when you stick the glass probe down in the mouth, you'll be able to find it in the esophagus. Okay, so you'll be able to do that. Likewise with the anus, if you wanted to do that and see it in the rectum, that's all right. That's right. You can do that too. Okay, now you're going to go through and you're going to look at all the different parts. They're going to take you through the different organs. So you'll start with the mouth for the digestive system and go in this direction till you get to the anus, and you'll be learning the main organs. We have the oral cavity, the esophagus, the stomach, which is down on inferior to the diaphragm in the abdominal cavity. So here's the stomach. Connected to the stomach is the small intestine, and
we have to know the duodenum. And
if it's if it's in boldface in your book, yeah. Okay. So here's the duodenum is the first part, connected to of the small intestine. Many of you will be looking for the pancreas. The pancreas is this tissue here. It looks like chewed gum. Okay, and it's diffuse, and this is why it's so bad to get pancreatic cancer, because it's very diffuse. This is the pancreas. This is the organ that makes insulin and glucagon.
So does that make it the cancer easy to spread to other
parts? Because, well, you can never dissect this out or irradiate all of the cancerous cells, and it's in the mesentery. This membrane, there's membrane here that looks like cellophane. Okay, there's actually this clear, see this clear membrane? That's actually 2 layers of the peritoneum, the peritoneal membrane. Okay, and so inside of this, the peritoneal membrane covers the intestines, and the intestine is inside of the peritoneal cavity. Okay, so here we're in the peritoneal cavity here. The peritoneal membrane goes around the organ, but it also goes around the wall, muscular wall of the abdomen. Okay. It covers the kidneys. So the kidneys, these kidney bean-shaped organs are kidneys, okay? And so I can't actually pick those up. Look how they're stuck, okay? And that's because they're behind the peritoneal membrane. So if I break that peritoneal membrane, then we can see it, okay? So we say that the kidney is retroperitoneal. It's behind the posterior to the peritoneal cavity. It's not inside of the peritoneal cavity. My finger is in the peritoneal cavity here, but now that I went through, now I'm outside of the peritoneal cavity and in the abdominal cavity. Okay. Here, when my finger's here, I could say, yes, my finger is in the peritoneal cavity, also in the abdominal cavity.
I know what size.
Because of that's what you're learning. Okay, so you're looking at the diagrams to learn that. And I know that the membrane, the peritoneal membrane, goes over the kidneys, goes around here, around the inner, sticks to the muscular wall, and there's some places back here where it comes out and goes around the intestines to cover the intestines. And you're going to learn the names of those 2 layers, the layer that covers the organ and the layer that forms the cavity, the outside of the cavity. They're two different, they're actually the same membrane, but we name them differently because one covers the organ and one forms the outside of the cavity.
We learned that yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the visceral layer.
Yeah, visceral.
And this is the parietal layer. Okay, this is parietal peritoneum, and this is the visceral peritoneum. Okay, so the lung, I'm touching the parietal pleura, and when I touch the lung itself, I'm touching the visceral pleura. Okay. And between them is the cavity. All right, so Okay, I'm just going to let you go ahead and go